So, Mark, I hate to talk about weather again, but did you see the crazy trash cans blowing across parking lots? We had a huge windstorm, like up to 70-mile-per-hour winds. Tons of flights were canceled. And then the next day, it snowed all over Las Vegas. So, good times in February.
Trash cans, those were poopers, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, they were.
There's
Oh
only
my God,
human trash. There's only human trash inside of those. But no, that was crazy. And then one gets rammed into a car at the end. At first, I'm thinking, okay, they should have taken bets on this. Which Porter John's going to win this race? And then secondary, could you imagine coming out and them having to file an insurance claim and tell them like, hey, I got hit by a Porter John. I don't know what to tell you.
Fun times though. It actually snowed all over Las Vegas, including like where I live in Green Valley, which it rarely snows because it's the lower elevations. So it was like 70 degrees. A couple hours later, 70-mile-per-hour winds. The next day, snow. Just another day in the life of a Las Vegan.
Do you think this will be like one of those State Farm commercials? Like, it did happen in Vegas in 2023.
So, Mark, I guess weather is a stressful part of life in Las Vegas, but also the rest of life apparently is. Nevada was ranked as the most stressful state to live in. They looked at like U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Center for Disease Control data, all kinds of government data, and came up with Nevada as number one. It's the most stressful place to work, the 8th most stressful place for money, the 11th most stressful state for health. So even though we get this crazy weather, we're not doing ourselves any favor here.
Yeah, I should say apologies to J.K. Simmons. It was Farmer Insurance, not State Farm. So, before the comments kill me. But, this kind of makes sense to me. First off, a lot of hospitality jobs in Nevada, focusing on that, whether it be restaurant, hotel, casino type of stuff. And that's always a very stressful job and, an underpaid job. So you're dealing with money issues and then gambling and all that brings into it for money issues. And I feel like a lot of people I've talked to when I'm in Vegas that, have moved to Nevada do it because they have health conditions before they move there, and they move there for the dry air and stuff like that. So, it kind of all rolls into one. It's a retirement place, or at least it used to be. So this is the first list that makes sense to me.
So maybe all the Californians can stop moving here because it's so stressful.
This is just propaganda to get people to stop moving in.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, right? This is not the easiest place to live, especially historically. I feel like today it's more of a normal city than ever, but we don't have as bad as traffic as other places. Commutes aren't as bad. This is, of course, talking about Las Vegas, whereas the study's talking about Nevada as a whole. But I like that this actually used data instead of just, randomly surveying 100 people on the street. So, yeah, it seems interesting. And no doubt Las Vegas is a unique place to live. I could see it being extra fun for some people, adding to their life. But a lot of that stuff adds to the stress as well. And we don't have a diversity of industry. We're not as well educated as some other states. So we have some struggles there. And I think it shows through in the data.
Yeah, it lines up some. I would think of not the most stressful. I would think California would be more stressful. Parts of New York would be more stressful. But, it kind of all plays into one, I guess. If you're stressed out, don't move to Vegas.
Yeah. And if you have problems with drugs, alcohol, gambling, anything like that, definitely don't move to Vegas. All right, so the Miracle Mile shops at Planet Hollywood, they announced their major renovations, about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, and they've started renovating it bit by bit. And in fact, the entirety of it's going to be done by this spring. So they're getting to the end of the renovations. And they announced that the rain show, which has been gone since COVID, basically, that's that area where the rain comes out of the sky. One of the better cool free attractions in Las Vegas. It's been closed and now it's going to reopen. They have a local artist going up there repainting it, and they're going to do some sort of light and sound show with it. So upgraded tech, good stuff, good news. As we lose more and more free stuff in Las Vegas, good to see this coming back.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've lost a lot of the free shows, that unique thing that Vegas always had. Pretty much every casino, it felt like, had something, and one by one they've gone away, and, the volcano is going to be going away at some point soon, and so it's good to see them bring this back. And I always did think, back in the day, going through that mall, it always did feel kind of dark, a little dreary, and it was, opposite of what you'd see outside, and your eyes would need to adjust. So I like that they're brightening it up and modernizing it, changing the floor and the lighting and all that stuff. So hopefully it makes it more of a welcoming when you come in. But I wish they still had the free parking. That kind of stinks. I don't know why anybody would go shopping there if they're not staying on the Strip.
The new owners, they have brightened it up a lot. Brand new lighting. That's really what their goal is, to lighten it all up. There are some things from the Desert Passage shops, the old days that they've left, some of that, the city architecture and some of the desert stuff. It's gotten a facelift top to bottom, the whole facade, everything, and it's good to see that. But for me, I'm really excited about the rain show because it's been a while since I've seen it, and walking by it every time, just sort of seeing it and the spigots in the ceiling and nothing going on has been depressing. So I'm really happy to hear this. And by April, I think, is when they said everything should be done. So you should have the complete new Miracle Mile shops with the new frontage, the brighter interiors, and the rain show.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out some of the better deals dining-wise on the Strip are in there, and a lot of people don't know it because you walk by it and you're like, I'm in Vegas, I don't want to go to a mall, so why would I go in there? And if you want something cheap eats, good food, they definitely have quite a few options for you.
That's definitely the place for people looking for food deals on the Strip. Now, getting some love also is the project that you don't think is going to happen, the Brightline train from Rancho Cucamonga to Las Vegas. Last year, they secured the rights along the I-15, so they now have the rights to the land. They're still doing environmental surveys, and this week they reached a deal with all of the rail workers unions to help get this thing done, so they're behind getting this project. It's still requiring some federal money, I think, to help out. They still have to issue bonds and try to get it, so the financing isn't all there, but this is the furthest along rail project ready to go in the U.S., so they're looking to get funding to get it going. And Brightline has built that train in South Florida, about to open their Orlando extension. So if anybody can get it done, it's probably them. Still an uphill battle, but they keep knocking these things out. So moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, as time goes on, it seems more and more like it's going to happen. And I love the updates because you get to say Rancho Cucamonga or Cuco. What? How do you say it?
It sounds nicer than it is.
Could you imagine saying, where are you from? Oh, from, never mind. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited. I think that this is great. I'm actually really excited for the Orlando one to, give you another option if you're flying into Florida and you want to check out that area. So if that goes, well, I would imagine that helps out in the Vegas Avenue. And, hopefully we can relieve some of that stress that's on the roadway. There's the word stress again. And this would help with some of that and the backups that we've seen, and especially with all the construction going on now and which will happen in the future, is that if this was in place, it would help out a lot right now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that's needed. There are people who say, naysayers of the project because it only goes to Rancho Cucamonga, where you'll be able to link up to LA's regional transportation system there, but that's still pretty far outside of LA, so we'll have to see how it all works out there. But I feel like they've had struggles, and they're going to have a station in Rancho Cucamonga, one in Victorville, and then the one on the South Strip. They've already acquired that land at Warm Springs and Las Vegas Boulevard. They also announced that there's going to be overpasses for wildlife, and that they're going to continue to maintain everything that's there because there's already some that are there on the interstate, but they're going to build new ones. So they're really trying to not impact the environment. And hopefully this will be the time that it gets done. Everybody likes to leave comments. I remember Amtrak had a train here, or they announced having to bring back their train, and it's never going to happen. There have been so many rail projects that have failed, but this one has been going on since the Desert Express days. It's been going on quite a long time. So like you said, maybe at this point we'll actually get it. All right, Mark, so let's talk about this. This conversation was inspired by a tweet from Vegas Introvert, basically saying if you could get a free hotel and flight to Vegas but could only stay and play at your least favorite place and nowhere else, which property is it and would you go?
Yeah, I thought about this for a little bit because Vegas is Vegas. Like, there's not really a terrible place to be. I mean, but if you were like stuck inside that casino hotel, couldn't go outside, couldn't do anything else, which one would be your least favorite? And Caesars was up there for me just because I get confused every time I'm in there. I've been there, stayed there a handful of times, and I still get lost, and the setup is terrible, and they're not a lot of fun. They yell at me every time. So that was on the list, but I had to go with my, my old hate monger Harrah's because it's just so blah. And if I was stuck in a place, I don't want a Holiday Inn pool to hang out at, and the restaurants and bars aren't the best, and yeah, so I'd go with Harrah's. And would I still go? Heck yeah! If I can get away from the kids and I can drink beer, I'm gonna go. What
I mean, because Harrah's isn't that bad. That's why you'd still go. Put yourself in in somewhere that's really bad. For me, I had to think about this because I don't hate anything on the Strip, but I think Excalibur would be the place just because I am such a hotel room guy, and the rooms there are very, very much out of the old Vegas playbook. So even like the lower end hotels and much of the rest of the strip have been upgraded or they're more modern. But yeah, the rooms at Excalibur aren't really doing it for me. And the whole casino is kind of old and not updated. And so I feel like that's probably my least favorite property, although I have a lot of great memories of being there as a kid. So, but yeah, I would go. I mean,
Yeah,
why
Karen,
not? Why
talk
not
overnight.
experience
Come
it?
on, you got something to do. There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's good stuff. But I wonder what everybody out there, because people have such like hatred for certain properties. I don't really have that, but there are people who say, I love that property. I absolutely hated that property. So I'd love to hear what people say down there. And then if you did it and it was all free, would you still go to your least favorite property? I think Vegas Introvert said Park MGM, which is a little shocking to me, but
I think is a terrible call.
Park
Just
MGM is
because,
pretty
yeah.
nice. I mean, it's a little blah
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of crazy just because you have Italy there, you have Nomad, they have quite a few nice restaurants and bars, and it is a newer feeling hotel, casino, brighter, all that stuff. So I was surprised by that, but that's what, like we've said, everybody has their things, usually based on something that happened while you were there, whether it be losing money, bad experience, bad dealer, bad waitress. Like, I rip on the Bellagio all the time for the service I got there. I won't go back because of that happened several different times. So maybe that's the one I should say that I don't want to get stuck in. Really trigger some folks.
Yeah, I mean, we both had bad stays at Bellagio, so I could see putting that there, but not quite to the level of hatred at Bellagio. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. So I'd love to hear the comments, what everybody has to say about that. What is your least favorite place, and would you take a free vacation there? Now, one of the biggest things in Las Vegas has been the change over the last few years of separating out the land and the management of a casino. We saw MGM and Caesars sell off pretty much all of their properties and then just maintain expensive leases to operate them. And there was an interesting article in the Review Journal this week talking about how some companies are not going that route, specifically Boyd Gaming, Station Casinos, and Fontainebleau, all kind of saying that they prefer the flexibility, that they don't need the money for that type of financing, that maybe there's better ways to operate their casinos. And even Station Casinos says that their average customer comes 5 times a month, meaning that they have to have better control over the building so that they can renovate and keep it updated. And that's something that's been interesting with these sales, is how are they keeping up with maintenance? We've talked about how Vegas hotels are falling apart. Is that why? Because you have separate operators and managers. It does seem like a roadblock, and it's good to see there's a few companies that, at least for now, are keeping their land.
Yeah, it definitely seems short-sighted to me as a business model, and I understand if you need cash flow or you want to expand, this is a way to do it and recuperate some of that value that you have in your company. But down the line, what's this going to look like when rents go way up? This is something that when I worked at Kmart in college, they had signed a 30-year lease where they're paying $3,000 a month. And then it came up towards the end, of when I was working there, and it jumped up to $30,000 a month. Well, they couldn't handle that and they ended up closing the store. And they're like, well, it was such a good deal back then, but if you had built it, then you'd still own it. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out in the future. You don't have total control. You can't do whatever you want to the property. You need to get approval for things. So it'd be frustrating on that aspect too. And do you invest as much money in infrastructure and all that if it's not your own? So I think it's going to hurt us. They won't be as unique or updated, and then it'll hurt them long term when those rates rise.
And then we've also seen the phenomenon where most of the strip is now owned by either Blackstone or Vici Properties, who is the largest landholder here. And they hold, land across different casino operators, and, they're making those decisions on the, maintenance and everything else, or at least they have something to say with it. So yeah, I think it's not good long term. We'll see financially how it works out. It seems to have worked out okay for some of the companies now, but it's an interesting phenomenon. Good to see them speaking out. And we do have some new owners coming in. Hopefully Tillman Fertitta, he'll own the land. Genting owns the land where Resorts World is. Of course, I said Fontainebleau, but we have an interesting redevelopment in Hard Rock where they don't own the land. So we'll see how that whole process plays out as they have to work with the landowners to get everything done and to get it all there. So interesting stuff. Chime in the comments. Let us know what you think about this. Is this all going to end badly? And then finally, Mark, I wanted to talk about the Raiders practice facility. I talked about it on the last show that I would discuss it. They had an open house, I guess, for suite holders and club ticket holders, basically where you were able to come. They had like a free gift and you got to tour the practice facility. And as far as I know, this is the first time the public has been allowed in the practice facility, just basically because of COVID. Maybe they have had some events there, but it hasn't been something that a lot of people have been able to do. And it's a really cool facility. It's over in West Henderson near the M Resort. What's really interesting is it's surrounded by dirt still. So you have this kind of state-of-the-art facility, these huge outdoor practice fields, and just beyond it is just dirt. So it just looks like anywhere else in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they have outdoor fields at all, because during training camp and everything, it was pretty hot in Vegas, so I wouldn't want to be out there. But I guess, as the season goes on, they can get out there and practice some. But yeah, it looked, I looked at the pictures and stuff that you guys posted, and it looked pretty amazing, and everything in the NFL is state-of-the-art. So it's cool to get a little peek behind the scenes and see what kind of facilities they get to deal with every day, and all the pampering they get, and all the, high-tech stuff they get to recuperate. Think about like 30 years ago in the NFL, if you got hurt, you didn't have any of the stuff that they have now to get back on the field quickly.
Yeah, and as you said, this place is state-of-the-art. There were a few places where they didn't let us take pictures or videos. We got to go inside the locker room, which is cool because this is their main locker room, right? This is the one that they're using every day, not the one at the stadium where they only use it on game days. So that was cool to walk around. Unfortunately, no videos or pictures in there, but you had like the areas where the players hang out. You got to see all their lockers, which was neat. The place does have like a lot of interesting stuff in the gym. It has cold plunges and all that sort of stuff. State-of-the-art workout equipment. Again, we weren't able to take pictures in the gym. There's an outdoor swimming pool there. But the real cool part, I guess, for any fan or anybody is just going on the indoor field. And it's basically a full football field plus another 40 yards at the end. So like 1.5 fields so that they can, practice in different ways. You have the full goalposts, and it's just like being on a football field inside, I suppose. But it was cool. All the offices sort of overlooked that. Raiders staff, super friendly, gave us some Raiders cookies and some hot chocolate. It was a fun time, and I was excited to do it. Thanks to my friend for inviting me, since I don't have season tickets, unfortunately. But it was a good time. And I think that this is maybe if they ever open this up for tours, this could be a more interesting tour than Allegiant. It's cool to see the big stadium, but to see the behind the scenes of all the training and everything else, the press room, all of that was really cool.
Yeah, I think for any big time football fan, they would rather see the practice facilities. The stadium's a cool one to check out, just to say you've been in the stadium, but you don't get as much of the day-to-day stuff you get. Now, I wonder, did they charge for the snack machines? Did you notice, like they do in Moneyball, or was it free for all the players?
I didn't. So they do have a full cafeteria there, which was closed. We couldn't go inside of it, but a full cafeteria where they have a chef or multiple chefs on staff, they said, that make the players whatever they want. So I think everything in there is free for the players, and it's a huge...
why weren't we just good at football? Dang.
It looks like a cool place to work and hang out, and, all the offices for all the front office staff and everything else. But it looks like a neat place. It's about 10-15 minutes from Allegiant Stadium. Most of the players live up in that area, so they're pretty close to home. And now we just need to know if Aaron Rodgers is coming.
Hey, if you want him to come torpedo your team, there you go.
Well, he already torpedoed my other team. So what else can I do? All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's show. Let us know what you think about anything we talked about the land versus lease situation, the Raiders practice facility, the crazy weather, Vegas and Nevada being stressful. Hit me up in the comments. Love to hear everything there. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. We'll be back in just a few days with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good weekend.